Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast, where a superfan and a noob talk about the original Sailor Moon episode by episode. I'm your host, Mikan Hana, joined by my co-host.
I'm the co-host and the noob. My name is Caliban. Sorry, I'm not home right now. I'm walking through the spider webs.
And we're a couple of magical people ready to Moon Crisis make up this episode. Today we are talking about episode number 161, Ugoki Dashita Kyofu, Yami no Jo no Mashu in Japanese. Terror in Motion, The Dark Queen's Evil Hand, the English translation, and the English title, Day of Night.
Day of Night.
Not day for night, just day of night.
Explain that.
Well, you know, a lot of times they shoot day for night, like, and sometimes it's really bad, like in Game of Thrones, where it's like really, really dark and you can't see
That's
that
not
well.
what day for night means.
I thought it was.
I didn't mean to lure you out onto a bed of punji sticks, a film trivia tiger trap. No.
I thought it was.
Day for night is like in an old movie when they're just shooting at day, but they just grade the footage down so it looks dark.
No, that's what I was talking about.
No, right. Well, I don't know how they shot. They almost definitely shot the Game of Thrones things in a darkened studio or on a darkened set and shot them at night. But then they played with it for some reason. The Dothraki don't exist, remember. They're just
right.
CGI. But for some reason, they're like, make it all dark. It's like when we saw on that YouTube show, which I don't want to give a credit to because I'm not sure that they're really good people.
Okay.
That's a long, different conversation. But, and they showed us Morbius and how a lot of the set designs and virtual environments in Morbius were incredibly like detailed, and because they were fighting in an abandoned building and it looked all great, and then they just went turned the gamma way down, and all that detail was lost. And these three CGI, film professionals were like, "Oh no, that's so much work for nothing."
Yeah, really.
That's the Game of Thrones episode. I'm talking about an episode where the giant Gila monster is coming after, the plucky guy and the ingenue leads. And they're like, oh my God, it's almost midnight. And their shadows are just like 10 feet long on the ground behind them. It's like, and also it's a full harvest moon or something like that. No, that they just shot that during the day and then it went, boo. And they do that less and less now because of the shooting on digital, but also just the advances in photography. But sometimes it is just easier to do that because you have a big crew and it's tough to be up at night. It's tough to work at night. It's tough to do that.
Yeah,
the movie Nope, which was recently done by Jordan Peterson.
So nope. I said nope to the feminist agenda.
Oh my God.
No, by Jordan Peele. A lot of which takes place at night because they are trying to capture this creature at night. They never shot at night. Not once.
Okay.
They might have done pickups at night. I don't know. But all the scenes that you see were, of the sky. First of all, this digital sky, that was all digital.
Oh,
there was a sky, but they added, clouds and elements and what they wanted to it.
Sure.
But all the night scenes were done during the day.
Okay.
And they just digitally graded it and changed everything so it looked like it was night.
Right. Okay.
And you never really question it.
Yeah.
So it's very, very impressive.
It is impressive.
But an old-timey movie, where, off the top of my head, in Out of the Past, where Jane Greer and Robert Mitchum meet on the beach and they're making out, that's just shot during the day.
Yeah. Right.
They don't even bother. Because it's tough to light at night. It's tough to do a lot of things at night.
It is. Okay,
That's what that means.
Thanks for clearing that up for me.
And I don't believe they used day for night in this episode.
I don't think they did. No. Would have been interesting if they had.
It's not a terrible... Yeah, I don't know. They probably animated it at night.
Yeah. Oh,
they work
no,
19-hour days. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to think about that.
That's a good title, though. Day of Night.
Day of Night. Yes. It's just like, okay, guys, we're not even trying anymore.
No, you don't like it?
I don't like it. I think
not?
that they could have done something more creative.
Okay, I'm going to push you on this. I'm going to continue to push you. But before that, I just want to say, has any Christmas break come at the righter time than the one that we're about to experience.
No.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
To not publish Sailor Moon shows and yet continually work all throughout this Christmas and New Year's break.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I have so much other work to do.
I know.
So I'm going to miss doing this show, but I'm going to be doing so much other work. But at least I don't have to sound competent and like I have the command of the English language when I'm doing that other work. But anyway, Day of Night, it's great. That's a great title.
Why is that a great title?
Because it is not only because there's an eclipse.
Yeah.
So it's literally dark during the day.
Yes.
A day of reckoning, a day of vengeance. These are these sort of dramatic, titles for these sort of epic kind of things.
Uh-huh.
This is literally, but they're just taking literally the idea of it's a day of night. Night being literal darkness, spiritual, magical darkness. It is, and then the duality of it. It is a day of night. It is the new moon versus the dead moon.
All right. Well, you've persuaded me. I see the error of my ways.
You're ready for Christmas break.
I am ready for Christmas break.
Me too. I'm ready to read a response from one of our listeners on our Spotify Q&A.
Nice.
Spotify listeners on PC or on your app of choice, you can go to Spotify, go to the episode that you're listening to, and on it there is a Q&A question that you can answer and let us know, what did you think about this episode?
Yes.
And we've got a comment from last week's episode from regular listener Ribbon. The episode is 160, Dream to be an Adult, the Amazoness's Confusion. And the comment is, another gold star, maybe, to Mikan Hana for keeping censored under wraps, or did she? What did you do or maybe not do?
I can't tell you because
Well,
I'd have to kill you.
That's the right one. The second part I'm not so sure about.
Not about the second part, but
okay, that was the right answer. I'm intrigued. What's being kept from me? Interesting.
I'm not a complete blabbermouth.
Can't give me a little? It's already passed by. You can't give me a little?
No.
All right.
No.
Interesting. It's strange to think that this season could hold something at this point that you couldn't predict, that has been cleverly hidden.
Well.
No, you don't have to you don't have to The point is that it's easy to hide something when you do nothing for over 30 episodes.
That's also true.
Right?
Yes.
That's just anticipation times 2. We'll skip through this part because I plan on going for like 5 minutes. Patient.
Yes.
And that's not really like script craft.
No, you're right. It's not.
But all right. Well, I'm looking forward to Censored. And I'm looking forward to other listeners' comments on Spotify. Go to Spotify, go to the episode you're listening to, and answer, what did you think about this episode?
So, Cal, can you give us a breakdown of today's episode?
I'll give you a breakdown.
Okay. Oh, my God.
Oh, sorry.
Not literally.
Well, I'm getting close.
Okay.
Because of this episode. I just wanted to point out, before we start, so I loaded up my episode. I have, every episode of the series.
Sure.
Sat down to watch it, and the opening scene starts, and Nehelania says, "Helios, where are you hiding?" I'm like, whoa, that's English. I know what English sounds like. I don't have the Japanese dub. Well, it's a dub. The Japanese language version of this.
Right.
And the English subtitles from the group that I usually watch.
Okay.
Nothing.
Weird.
It's just like the TV broadcast version.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm working off of the YouTube Viz sub for this one.
Okay.
So if the language seems a little less artful, a little more kind of get it done energy, that's where that's coming from.
Okay. You don't like the Viz sub, do you?
I don't like it as much as the one I've been watching.
Okay. That's interesting.
And look, we've been through like a whole UN's worth of language changes here and diction and syntax as we have done this. The first set of episodes that we worked off when we were in the original series, Sailor Moon Nothing.
Classic.
It was fine.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until we got into like R and S that I realized, oh, that was a different dub too. And I like the later dubs better. I feel like they're more creative. I feel like they keep the spirit of the Japanese wordplay more. And so someday I'll have to go back and, watch the entire series again. I guess I'll give the YouTube one a try for Sailor Moon Classic, but I think that's important.
Yeah.
But I've talked about that enough.
No, I think it is
but
important.
if things are off, that's what's going on.
Okay.
No translation rewinds this week.
Yeah.
We opened this week where we left off last week in the Mirror of Hall. I didn't know it was a two-parter. As Queen Nehelania is preparing to use her hands on the bound and spiritless form of Helios.
Yes.
It's pouring baby oil into
I know.
Here we go. I know. She says, "Whose dream could you be hiding in? I have your physical body, and there's no way that you could defy me." You got to cut her some slack. I mean, they've looked at every adult's dream in Tokyo, every person in Tokyo over the age of 18, and they found nothing. They might look in... He wouldn't be in a child's dream. That would be sick.
It would be sick.
I just don't get it. Where can he be? She says, this opportunity comes once every few centuries. Time is running out. She calls out for Zirconia, and there the catfish wizard is, simping in the two-way mirror. Nehelania says, "When are you going to find the golden mirror? I can no longer simply rely on you people." And she puts her hand on the surface of the mirror, and with great effort begins to push through the mirror into our world.
Yeah.
But as her hand emerges, this is like Prince of Darkness.
It is like Prince of Darkness.
As her hand emerges, a ray of sunlight hits it and seems to burn her flesh as she draws her hand back within.
Yes.
Is she a vampire?
Maybe.
Is that what the censored is?
I don't know.
You don't have to censor vampires.
I didn't say
This
anything.
is the 21st century.
I didn't say she was a vampire
We've
or
had
she wasn't a
8
vampire.
seasons of True Blood. You don't have to censor anything anymore. As she clutches her scalded hand, she thinks to herself, how vexing. The light of that world extinguishes the power of darkness within my body. Toxic positivity. I know how she feels. Just let me be dark. As the slit-like pupils of her eyes narrow, she thinks, if I could only get out of here, I could quickly kill those of the white moon. And reflected in her eye, we see a view of Tokyo. Mm-hmm. We see, once again, like a few frames of the dead moon laying waste to Elysium, the land of dreams.
Yes.
Before we get a look at Nehelania's dreams, a vision of Tokyo festooned with webs of darkness, where Nehelania possesses the power of the golden crystal and has brought all to ruin and darkness.
Yeah.
Curses! She screams, and Zirconia is terrified at her mistress's wrath. Also maybe turn down a little bit.
Maybe.
Just maybe turn down a little bit.
Mark me down as scared and horny.
Zirconia looks around the Hall of Mirror as the sound of a dark power seems to echo, and within the Mirror of Hall, thin, ghostly spider webs begin to crisscross the chamber, as the Queen says, I despise this world filled with light. Become a darkness befitting me, the Queen of the New Moon. And we see once again the trapped form of Helios being wrapped in strands of dark webs.
Yes.
At the Sakino household, Ikuko Mama
What are you doing?
reminds Chibiusa that she doesn't want to be late, and as they emerge from the front door, framed interestingly by a cobweb in the garden, we see that Chibi is in her gym clothes. She says, I don't want to run a long-distance race. I'm only good for 10 furlongs.
What?
But
What is that?
Kids today and their horse jive. But Ikuko says, if you finish the race, Usagi said that she'd treat you to whatever you want. That doesn't sound like the Usagi I know.
I could see Usagi.
I think there's some Ikuko Mama intervention here.
Maybe. I was going to say, I could see Usagi saying that and then not actually meaning it.
She gave Usagi money,
Yeah.
and Usagi's like, get her to buy something small. And I keep the change.
Yes, there you go.
But Chibi is going to go big and go over the
limit.
the showcase showdown
Yes.
limit that the mom gave, and she'll really be in trouble then. But we'll see. Chibi says, geez, I wish it would rain so they'd cancel the race. I want to stay in the paddock.
Is that another horse thing?
They're all horse things from here on out.
Okay.
But Ikuko says, well, they say when a spider web sparkles with the morning dew, the sky will be bright and clear. Sounds better in the original Japanese. Yep, a good omen, certainly. Those spider webs. Now get going and have a good time. As Chibi leaves reluctantly, Ukuko thinks, strange, a spider web? In this season? When is spider season?
I have no idea when spider season is.
I think it's right after Godzilla season and just before Grudge season.
That sounds about right.
Oh, just Tokyo. We cut to the race, and Chibi is giving it her all as the squad cheers her on from the sidelines. And as the racers pass by, Makoto says, should we head for the finish line? But Minako says, Mamoru's at the finish line. Why don't we go down to Crown and wait for them? She's down to Crown. And Usagi's like, great idea. Parfait, parfait, parfait. Let's go.
Right, exactly.
And as they go, they miss seeing a single thin spider web shoot across the sidewalk. And just a note here, Rei is wearing a cross necklace.
I saw that.
Across from where?
And I'm completely mystified now about who believes in what and what anything really means.
Yeah, right.
As the girls walk to Crown, Usagi says, well, I'll give them credit for running a race on Sunday morning. And Ami is carrying a little book?
Uh-huh.
A Bible? Were they at church? Is she trying to she's trying to convert Rei?
Oh my gosh.
Is that what's going on here?
I like your theory.
Why mention that it's Sunday morning?
Yeah,
Other than for a Japanese student, I guess that's the one day they have off. But
yes.
crosses, little books? Come on.
I mean, it could be.
Mako says, it feels great to run with all your might towards heaven. And Rei says,
Wow.
Minako, didn't you run a lot with the volleyball team? And Mina says, I sure did. But these days, I choose not to run. I've chosen to follow someone very special. This is a Christian anime now, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
This is just a Christian anime. Watch out, Superbook. Ami says, I don't care to run either. I'm standing on the rock. Okay, that's it. I'm done now.
Oh my gosh.
You get it. She says, swimming is more my style. Maybe I'm just lazy at heart.
Which does not sound like her at all.
Yeah, you slug a bed. And maybe she's unobservant, too, because we see another spider web cross the frame.
Yes.
At the finish line, Mamoru waits with Diana to see the racers arrive. As they do, Diana says, small lady is in the lead. And we cut to a huffing and puffing Chibiusa, who engages the kick as she sees her competitors closing in behind her. In a second, Chibi breaks the tape and she wins the endurance race, collapsing to her knees in exhaustion. Mamoru tells her, you did great. And Diana says, just as I'd expect of our future princess. Chibi changes into her street clothes and the trio heads for Crown. But on the way there, Mamoru walks through a thread of spider web. And as he does, he seems transfixed for a second.
Yes.
And he stumbles wearily. The girls ask what's wrong and he says, oh, I just tripped. Chibi can hardly believe that he tripped? Her Mamo-chan? But he says, come on, let's go. And they depart as we see more webs arc across the scene.
It's weird. It's troubling because you don't see Mamoru show like this kind of vulnerability very often. And he's
well, the last time that he
it.
was clutching his chest, and he was either becoming Tuxedo Mask against his will, or he was
yes, that's true.
Splitting, he was being the White Knight or whatever too. Like he
yeah.
Was,
or evil Tuxedo Mask.
Or evil Tuxedo Mask.
Yeah.
So yeah, look forward to that. He's dead, EnDEADmion. We cut to a pitched battle between two combatants, Rai and Jaffley. But then we cut to the combatants controlling them, Minako and Makoto. They play in the Virtua Fighter knockoff.
Yeah, nice.
You ever hear of Virtua Fighter?
Virtual Fighter? I've never heard of it.
Virtua Fighter?
Oh,
Excuse
sorry.
me.
Virtua Fighter. No.
Fighting game craze started more or less by Street Fighter.
Yes.
In like 1989, 90. And fighting games swept Japanese arcades by storm.
Yes.
But there's one called that never really took off quite like Mortal Kombat, which is an American production,
sure.
Or Street Fighter, called Virtua Fighter. And the idea was that it was more, there's no fireballs. It's like more serious. And it was all, unlike the early versions of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, which were 2D sprites, that it was all 3D rendered.
Oh, okay.
With like real combat styles and moves.
Okay.
So there were a lot of purists that were like, yeah, this is like a real fighting game. You're like fighting for real.
This is the genuine article.
And it did come over here, but it remains, I think, mainly a more of a Japanese fixation.
Okay.
And it's significant here because it is a Sega production.
I see.
Or at least it was in those days.
Okay.
So if we're talking about a Japanese arcade, you're going to see Space Harrier, the motorcycle game,
right.
Virtua Fight, all Sega games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sega was like one of the, major companies, and they're not as big player as they were before.
No, they're not. They never really nailed the hardware side of it.
The home console. Oh my God. Game console.
When you're being haunted by ghost cows. I'm a cow soul. I'm in your home.
Oh my God.
Moo.
Why can't I say that word right now?
I don't know.
Console.
When I describe Street Fighter.
Yes.
Shoryuken.
Yes.
And I describe pulling spines out of Mortal Kombat. And then I say Virtua Fighter. Google suggests, did you mean Virtual Fighter?
Yeah, right. That's what I...
They didn't really have the IP either.
Uh-huh.
Outside of Sonic.
Right.
And so they started making like weird moves in the hardware space.
Okay.
Like, oh, what if the Sega Saturn was a thing and it's really overpowered and we don't have any games for it except for like Panzer Dragoon.
Oh my God.
The first Tomb Raider did appear on Sega Saturn, and then Sony immediately locked that down and made it a PlayStation exclusive.
Okay.
And so they lost that. And
Okay.
they're like, what about a Dreamcast? It's got a little controller you put inside the big controller. Also, the big controller will give you arthritis.
Oh my God.
And so they just and it's weird because Nintendo can make all kinds of blunders, and they can have like a controller you stick up your butt, and they can have all this stuff, but you can always make somebody use that thing up their butt to control Mario. They're going to continue to win and exist.
Yeah.
And Sega just didn't have that. They made some weird moves with the hardware. Also, the Saturn launch was a disaster because they literally announced it and launched it the same day.
Okay.
There's a story behind it,
Strange.
but there was a weird move where they were at E3, which is dead now, by the way.
Yeah.
Announced today.
Oh, really? Today?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's officially dead. They're never going to bring it back until they do.
Yeah.
And the president of Sega was like, we want to announce the Sega Saturn. It's $500. It's $19.95, by the way.
Oh my God.
And it's available right now. That's it. Go ahead. Leave. Walk out to the EB Games down the road. It'll be there. And people are like, what? It's available now?
And it's
You
$500.
tell people ahead of time so they can save up their money and get in line. And so they just didn't. It's a lot of mismanagement. But you know what? Sonic still exists.
Sonic does still exist. And Sonic is classic.
And it's basically owned by Nintendo now.
Is that so?
So while Mario and Luigi are watching TV and they hear like noises in the attic, they're like, what's that noise? Don't worry about it. Go up there. Sonic's chained to a radiator.
Oh my God.
There's a ring hanging from the ceiling, but like just out of his reach.
Oh,
so he keeps
no.
going, he's getting weaker and weaker.
Oh my God. That's so dark.
And then they finally decide to put him out of his misery and they try to drown him in the bathtub. And it goes boop 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 boop. Is he dead? He's gone.
Oh my God.
Let's take these rings to the pawn shop.
Oh my God.
And the characters, there's a character named Jackie. So I think that's supposed to be Jalfie or whatever it is in their weird on-screen English thing. And then there's a character named Rai. There is no character named Rai, but that character looks similar to a character named Lao Chan, who's like a kung fu wushu fighter guy. So
interesting.
Let's say this is like Cybah Brawlerz or something. Rei and Usagi are cheering Mako and Mina on, but Ami clutches her book and says, guys, we're going to be late for service.
Oh my God.
Usagi says, oh, Ami, you worry too much. But actually, Ami and Usagi would be great as a Goofus and Gallant type thing.
How so? I don't know.
Goofus and Gallant were Christian, right?
I don't know what Goofus and Gallant are.
That's, Gallant always brushes his teeth and thanks his mother for making dinner. Goofus eats a lot of candy, and he had to go to the dentist.
Okay.
And was in an 8-car pileup on the way there, and he's dead now.
Oh my God.
Right? That's a thing.
Okay.
So Ami's like, oh, she's gonna do the right thing, and Usagi's like, I like candy.
Yeah, we can see that.
Right.
She got cavities.
Internet people, get to work on that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do it. But I think it needs to exist. Usagi stops short as she notices something in Ami's hair. And Usagi says, you worry so much about little things that you got a gray hair.
Yeah.
She holds up what looks like a white hair, but is probably a spider thread.
Uh-huh.
Emphasized by the long shot we get of the girls from the corner of the room with a spider web in the foreground.
Yes.
The girls are like, no way, you study too much. Wait, you aren't dyeing your hair blue? They never wonder why she's got a natural hair color. It's anime.
Right, exactly.
On the screen of Cybah Brawlerz, static begins to snow across the field.
Yeah.
As Ami says, this isn't a gray hair. And Ray says, it looks like a spider's thread. Ami says, in this season? I wonder where it came from. In this economy?
Yeah, right.
And Usagi, after checking Ami's head once more, looks up to the corner and sees the spider web. Mina says, Motoki must not clean this place. And Mako says, that's the trouble with guys. Did Senpai work in the custodial arts or something?
I don't know.
Ami says, we've really got to get going. And the girls depart as the Cybah Brawlerz machine continues to bug out.
Yeah.
As the girls emerge, Usagi says, does it seem dark to you guys? And Mina and Usagi both look into the sky because this show cannot help itself. They even have the same pose.
Yeah, I know.
And Mina says, you think the spider did it? Just kidding. She was right. But she doesn't know that yet.
No, she does not.
As Ami remarks that there's no clouds in the sky, and their eyes are probably just adjusting.
From being in the arcade.
I guess.
Anyway,
Ami explains how pupils work, and Usagi says, that's Ami. Her explanations are so scientific. For a Christian.
Oh my gosh.
As the group walks away, we see more spider webs above the street. I'm going to keep saying that at the end of every scene, but the show's going to keep doing that at the end of every scene.
Yeah.
Just to keep, it's like that rhythm. It's just like a tick, tock, not like tick tock, but like a Kesha song. At Fruit Parlor Crown, Chibi is pissed that the girls have shown up a little late to meet her and Mamoru, and she's already finished her treat. And we see Usagi reluctantly paying Unazuki for the treat, as Chibi says, you said you'd get me anything I wanted.
So
they needed at this visual gag, a CVS receipt unrolling there. Yeah.
Yes.
The girls all leave together as Ray says, it's Usagi's fault for wanting to hit the arcade. And Usagi says, you came too, Ray! As they walk down the stairs, Mamoru steps through another web and stumbles again, to Diana's dismay. Usagi and Chibi run to him, but he says with effort that he's fine. But as he gets up, Usagi sees a piece of thread on his clothes and plucks it off. Mm-hmm. Seeing an old lady, are you?
Oh my God.
No. The girls somebody more age appropriate. The girls wonder at all the spider webs today, and Unazuki pops her head out to see if something is wrong. And she says, what? More spider webs? I've been cleaning these up all day. Scientific Ami says, there shouldn't be this many spiders in winter. Let me have that thread. I'll examine it at home. We never see her do it. Or if she does, she brings them no information.
Right. You're so right.
Mina says, has it gotten darker? And the girls agree it is now very dark outside as webs continue to crisscross the street.
Yes.
Tick-tock is a metronome, that's the word. Where the Vikings play.
Yeah.
Back in the Mirror of Hall, Queen Nehelania says, what I take must be worthy of me. As we pan across to see that webs now cover the room. She says, with my power, I will cover every despicable thing that shines brightly with the darkness of the new moon. This is kind of like Sauron's plan, right?
I think so, yeah.
Right? The orcs, other than the Urukai, of course, the orcs can't march under daylight, but when he allows smoke and darkness to spread from Mount Doom,
then
it covers, and then they have the Battle of the Pelennor Fields.
Day of night.
Yes, Sauron's like, we're going day for night. Orcs, attention, day for night. You're on in 5. Nehelania calls out, Zirconia! And behind her in the mirror appears her servant. Nehelania says, use the darkness I create. Find the golden mirror. Find the host so I can activate the golden crystal. We're running out of time. Zirconia says, yes.
Oh my God.
Says just like that. The next morning in Chibi's loft, she wakes and looks out of the window to see that all of Tokyo has been engulfed by spider webs. Or maybe just Japan. I don't know. But it's going to be a white Christmas in Japan. As Chibi stares flabbergasted, the Pegasus phone rings, and Pegasus appears and says, they finally brought the darkness to this world. You maniacs! You blew it up!
Damn you! God damn you all to hell!
How could this happen? We did nothing to stop them. They're turning your world to darkness in order to capture me. I guess this is adios, partner.
Oh my God.
Chibi's like, what? No. And Pegasus says, I have a mission I need to fulfill. Now, 34 episodes later, I need to find the person that could release the power of the golden crystal. And well, with your 10th birthday coming up, it seems like the time to move on.
Oh my God.
If I don't fulfill my mission, both our worlds will be destroyed. Chibi says, if we can find the person that can use the golden crystal, the world can be saved, right? Tell me it's true. All my stuff is here. I got this great condo. And we won't have to say goodbye. I'll help you find that person. Please don't say goodbye. Pegasus seems impressed and touched by the devotion of this girl. She's a little clingy.
Oh my God.
But he says, I don't want to put you in danger, and I can't cross state lines with you.
Oh my God.
And we big drum boom 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 into an orchestral version of Baby Baby Love as Pegasus says, if I stay any longer, I'll only make you sadder. And the image of Pegasus and the Pegasus phone itself begins to sparkle and fade away like the TARDIS.
Yes.
But Chibi grasps it with both hands, like Captain Jack. Remember he did that? I think Clara did that too.
I
once.
don't remember.
Actually, Clara tried to put the key in the TARDIS lock, and the doctor had programmed it to return her to Planet Christmas when she tried to do that. But yeah, Jack rode the time vortex through on the side of the TARDIS.
Okay, like Dr. Strangelove?
Doctor Who. Dr. Strangelove, that's who. Wait a minute, that's not Dr. Strangelove.
Dr. Strangelove? No!
Monsieur! I can walk!
Pegasus says, oh, hey, look, let go. We had fun, but it's time to move on. Chibi says, I won't let go. I'm not letting you go. And a single tear of hers falls on the globe of the phone. She says, you said so yourself. You said you needed the light of my dream. And you gave me that horsey kiss.
Oh my God.
As long as I believe in my dream, you said you'd always stay by me.
Well, that's just what we call pillow talk, baby.
Chibi tearfully says, and that's why I'm never letting go. Webbs cross the street.
Right.
Beep, beep, look out. Webbs crossing the street. Why don't they cross at this crosswalk? In the now web-strewn Juban shopping district, the squad and Chibi have assembled to see this living nightmare. Ami consults her RoboCop computer as Ray says, there's an evil aura enveloping the entire city. I have psychic powers, by the way.
Yeah, just a reminder.
I know we leaned on that a lot in the last season, but I still have them. The Senshi resolve to fight their enemy as Ami attempts to trace the energy of the threads to their source. That source? The giant evil big top in the middle of town? What?
Say it ain't so.
Maybe this is what she was doing off screen. She analyzed the string energy, the string theory. This is her string theory. And then she used that. Now she's picking up the energy.
It must be what she did.
We didn't see that.
We didn't see that, no.
They didn't animate she feeds she's got a little disk drive or something, or like a little hole. This is only for thread-based analysis.
Yes.
And just puts it into the computer.
Yeah.
Where the stylus goes on the DS. just in that hole there. The girls decide to check it out, and as they reach the circus grounds, they hear peals of sinister female laughter coming from deeper within. We cut to the source of the laughter, and it's the Amazoness Quartet. They're dragging piles of web-covered bodies across the ground. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Ves, hauling a load of unconscious stiffs, says, "Where do you want these?" And Jun says, "Unchecked bodies go in that pile on the right." As Siri, the administrative leader of this, sits atop a literal pile of normal mirrors.
I know.
Pala says, "Eating all those mirrors is going to give our lemurs upset stomachs." And just then, the little continuity.
Yeah,
a really weird place for some continuity.
It is.
And just then, the squad arrives to see the gymnasts from the other day surrounded by the limp forms of hundreds of civilians. And Usagi's like, "What in the f***ed up Snow White is going on around here?" The Amazonesses recognize the girls they worked the coming-of-age ceremony with, and Siri says, "Oh, you're on this job too? We're just doing our job here." And Ves says, "Don't even think of interfering with this." And Usagi's like, What? Stacking bodies like cordwood? No, we're not getting in on that.
Yeah, no. That's
Siri
not what
says,
we do.
We haven't really introduced ourselves. And the four Amazonesses do their ball tricks and introduce themselves as members of the Dead Moon Circus.
Yes.
Now, it doesn't really matter, but at this point, do these girls know that these girls are the same girls? And do those girls know that those girls are those girls? I know we're going to find out that they're all different girls, but do they? Usagi specifically knows that they're the girls, but do the girls know that our girls are those girls? Do they care at all?
I don't think they know.
Why not have one line like, "Oh, it's you"?
Yeah, that would have been good.
Right?
Yes.
You're the guys with the dumb dreams. You're the guys who failed, like Paul in front of Agrippa. There's your Christian reference. Failed to convince us that having dreams was worth anything. And so instead we had a electric catfish man
Yes,
eat
right.
the mirrors of 300 people.
Exactly.
Good job, heroes. Well, our girls are stunned. And Usagi says, "I can't believe that you're the enemy."
I can't believe you committed suicide. I cannot believe you committed suicide.
No way! After spending no time ever thinking about it, I can't believe it's you. Siri says, "Let's get to work. Let's work." And all four Amazonesses line up their colliding ball shots as Usagi runs forward like, "No!" The four balls look like they're going to collide with Usagi head on, but then they scatter away, bounding across the grounds, and another crop of, sadly, normal mirrors are revealed from their victims.
"I told you, Charlie, I've given it up."
Ves says, "What? Still? We've been through every adult in this burg." Actually, we do see some kids later on.
Oh my God.
Unconscious kids. Pala says, Pala's tired of this already. I'm right there with you, Pala. And Usagi is mortified by the holocaust of dreams wrought by these callous young women.
Yes.
As she continues to blue screen of despair, the Amazons quibble about how to get rid of all the mirrors, and the idea of leaving them out back for the bulk trash pickup is floated.
It's just like,
Will Japanese garbage men pick up magical mirrors?
I don't think so.
Pick up magic trash?
That's a good idea. Magic trash.
I'm sure there's probably, maybe they floated this for a while, and then they're like, nobody wants to look at garbage, but like an A&E show where it's like, "The lives of garbage men. You won't believe what we found over here." Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Think about the things that Japanese garbage men pick up.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty wild.
So much weirder.
And especially because you
Gomi Men.
sort Gomi Men. Sure.
Gomi Men. Gotta cut this.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you sort so many different things, and there's a certain trash too for things that it's not burnable.
Right. Yeah.
It's not recycling.
Right.
You got some broken.
You just killed the show.
You got some broken glass.
It
has to go into this.
You just killed
thing.
the show.
Oh, okay.
It never makes it out of a pilot because the entire show is just them sorting the 17 types of trash. It's like, now this is for green yogurt cups only.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Like, you're canceled. Get out of my office. Usagi, her eyes veiled, says to no one in particular, "Unforgivable." And then to anyone that will hear, "Let's go, everyone!" clutching her heart locket. The The squad is ready, and as the Amazonesses watch on dumbfounded, the girls Moon Crisis and Crystal Power transform into the Sailor Senshi. Yes. We get a little reaction from each of the Amazons in turn, like, ooh, concluding with, wait, you guys are the Sailor Senshi?
Yeah. They didn't know.
Fine, now we all know.
Yeah.
Now everybody knows everything.
I
guess
know
our
that
little
you know
secret's out.
That I know that you know.
Yes.
Yes.
And as they transform, we hear a new song. I don't think we've heard this song before.
No, we haven't.
Theme of the Sailor Team. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty great song.
It is.
A lot of squeedly wheedlies. It seems like it was written about 10 years before this episode came out, but it's still pretty good.
It is pretty good.
The Senshi say in turn, these children are filled with bright, shining hope. You treated their beautiful dreams like trash. You used the darkness to commit many evil acts. You may be children, but you've gone too far. We are the Sailor Guardians. In the name of the moon, we'll punish you. Vest says, why do we have to be punished? And Venus says, oh, I think we're going to have to really punish them before they get it. Yeah. What?
I don't know.
Don't spare the moon rod.
God.
And we get a Jupiter Oak evolution and a Venus Love and Beauty shock. But the Amazons dodge the evolution, and Vesves uses Sealing Orb to absorb the shock. The Senshi are stunned.
Yeah.
But no time for that, as Siri fires marble-like pellet orbs at the Senshi, causing them to lose their footing like a couple of wet bandits.
Yeah.
Siri says, now Pala Pala! And Pala activates Control Orb, lifting a ball into the sky that begins to flash as the Senshi themselves are raised helplessly off the ground. Mm-hmm. Pala says, now all your lives are mine, as she produces a Sailor Moon voodoo doll.
Yeah.
Available at toei.co.jp. Pallas moves the doll's limbs 1, 2, 3, 4 as the sailors are forced to copy the doll's movements. We've got a perfect thriller opportunity here, but we don't have the rights.
No.
We can't afford the rights to that.
But this goes back to your theory about her being one of the most powerful of the Amazoness quartet.
I mean, why did they hang out and try to convince people to, do mirror stuff? Come on, baby, let's do just mirror stuff.
Just mirror stuff.
And when she could just make them walk into a van. Right?
She just must not think
doll
about it.
Doll clothes are expensive.
Yeah, doll clothes are expensive.
Because you have to dress them like the...
yes.
Like the victim.
That's true.
Oh my God, that guy's in an Armani suit. All right.
And that's going to be really expensive.
A little square of Armani. give me 1 yard of Armani fabric. What? You're making an Armani headband?
She has her own little sewing machine.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, right. I'm working. I've been working all day. Actually, if you make a voodoo doll of a sweatshop worker, then
oh my God,
they start making themselves, and then you move the voodoo doll so that it's making another doll.
That's terrible.
That's AI.
Oh my
God. And
God.
that's AI.
Oh my God.
Welcome to Vsauce. Anyway, Pala laughs and says, now die, and begins to pull the doll apart by its arms. The Senshi are facing their final curtain. But a red rose knocks the doll from the Amazon's hands. Tuxedo Mask has arrived, and he's way, way up on top of a balloon. He's got to yell down.
Yeah.
He yells down, the sun's light gives life to all creatures. You've blocked that light and brought a dark cloud to people's dreams. Little she-devils, I cannot forgive you. He's pissed.
He is pissed.
Sailor Moon says, Tuxedo Mask, and he leaps down to the Senshi. But he stumbles a bit as he lands. It's clear that he's not 100%.
Yes.
Siri says, another troublemaker, while Pala nurses her hand and says, Pala got an owie. Just then over the loudspeaker, we hear the voice of Zirconia say, come back, girls! The greatest event of the century is about to begin. What are you playing around for? Siri says, she's right, let's go. And all 4 Amazonesses ball out and disappear. The Senshi are left confused, and Sailor Mars says, what's about to begin?
Yeah.
I don't know. We're not psychic, Ray.
Why don't you let us know?
Is that a question? Are we supposed to answer that question?
Yeah.
As the mirrors of the Amazon's victims are returned to them, the Senshi decide to help the victims to safety before pursuing their foes. For the first time ever. In her mind's eye, Sailor Moon again sees the girls who helped them at the 20-age ceremony and still can't believe they were their foes all along.
Yep.
I mean, after all their supernatural abilities, And their weird sociopathic questions? Who would have thought? Tuxedo Mask collapses to his knees once again as we pan up to the darkened, web-filled sky above the big top and see that the sun itself is becoming eclipsed by something.
Yeah.
Sailor Mercury says, it isn't possible. The next eclipse isn't for a long time. And they're against God in his way.
Oh my God.
But nevertheless, the light begins to fade as Sailor Moon says, is this the event that they mentioned? And Chibi remembers the words of Pegasus. Hey, can I watch you while you sleep? No.
Whoa.
The dead moon, the magic of the new moon. And asks herself, will the world be enveloped in the darkness of the new moon? Sailor Venus says, we can't let them have their way any longer. And drops a victim. She's like holding a kid. It's like, we gotta get in there. Boom.
Oh my God.
Gotta go. And all the Senshi agree. That's a leader.
Yes.
As they resolve to fight on, a blazing light descends from the sky suddenly and resolves itself into Pegasus. Everyone is amazed.
Whoa.
And Pegasus says, now that's how you make an entrance. You of the white moon, you must not head for the dead moon now. We gotta pad this out for another 5 episodes. And they did.
Excellent. Oh my goodness.
Does Mamoru have the golden mirror? Is that the twist of all time?
I can't say anything.
You can't say anything. You can't say anything.
How would I be able to say anything?
Well, thought maybe it's like you understand here. Everybody thinks that you're the hero. I'm the hero for not easily squeezing like toothpaste from a tube all the secrets from you.
It wouldn't
because
be
all
that
I
hard.
have to do is ask a very simple question.
Yes.
And then just read you. And so I don't ask you questions. That's how this works.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, I just wanted to log that. So we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I think I'm reflexively negative on these episodes. I don't want to get into the rating now, but there are some interesting things in this episode.
Yeah.
And something that I suppose is probably on like a pitch document, but wasn't in the series a whole lot. But the idea of, they alternate between they say white moon.
Yeah.
Which is
it's
need to do
confusing.
that.
Yeah.
Especially when the black moon was 2 series ago.
Yeah.
But the idea of a new moon, because the Nihilania says new moon.
Yes.
And I don't know if, a new moon is kind of a black moon.
Yes.
And I guess you could see that as a dead moon if you were going to correlate colors and
I guess
and emotions, which we don't want to do. And so I like the fact that it's all interpretable. They haven't done anything with it, but Nihilania would see it as this is the power of the new moon. So is the dead moon circus, do they own that identity, or is that put on them because they have leached and destroyed all these worlds?
Question.
I like the idea that she's a leader that's spinning it no, we're the new moon, the new hotness.
I like that
But really
idea
they're
too.
the black moon or the dead moon,
Yeah.
So I like that contrast. Also the idea that Pegasus isn't just there's a lot of adult women here. All right, that's okay, I guess. But he hasn't really he shows up because Chibi calls him, but he doesn't really interact with the Senshi much at all.
No, he doesn't.
But now he's specifically saying oh, you're of the white moon.
Yeah.
So it's a new kind of title to add to what the sailors do.
Yeah, and to add to what they are, because
what they represent.
Or
yes, this sort
exactly.
Of figurative or literal spheres that they, oversee or protect.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's because that's what Nihilania refers to them as the white moon.
Yeah.
And so Pegasus does that too. That's what I think anyways.
Boy. See, all right, I'm just going to do a soft shoe here.
Okay, sure.
Go
for it.
All right. So Pegasus, was he part of the circus at one point? You don't have to answer any of these questions. Remember, these are all just speculation.
I don't think so.
No. So obviously the answer is no, because you felt safe answering that. But what I'm saying is that there's a whole. If people come from another universe and a Pharaoh 90 planet or whatever, it's like, all right, interesting, whatever.
Yeah.
You are an evil being that broke through to our universe or our part of the galaxy and found, a tragic, the dead daughter and a wounded scientist and manipulated them to come here. But like the dreams and everything, that seems so kind of tied to the Senshi already. And then there is the idea of a dead moon or a black moon opposing a white moon.
Yes.
So it seems weird. It's one thing if they are reincarnated and forgot their history of the moon, and a battle that is pretty much long dead, like Queen Metalia and, presumably didn't survive or was like Sauron had, dissipated at the end of the Millennium War.
Right.
But began to kind of come back. And so for that reason, the sailors were reawakened to fight her.
Yeah.
And so they don't understand their history, but they are part of a legacy war.
Right.
But now this, hey, what's up, everybody? Like Pegasus shows up and it's like, are they part, is this dream element, this dream dimension, something else that is used to be part of their portfolio of things that they rule or have to protect or something like that? Do you know what I mean? Like this is a totally random thing. And how interesting to have explored any of that over the preceding 34 episodes.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like I have a feeling that we're going to get a lot of like big answers soon, but you could have teased or explored any of this at any time.
And I will say that the manga does more to
I'm
connect
positive that I was just going to say, this is one of the reasons that I would really want to read the manga. I'm sure there's a lot of backstory that they went, we're selling toys. We don't need to tell the kids everything. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah. Along those lines, then, I really do. Well, I don't know. I don't know how much I want to say now and how much I want to save for whatever wrap-up show we end up doing. But it really is disappointing then to have so many episodes, 3, 4, how many is a score?
I don't know how many is in a score. 10?
12.
12. Okay.
So 3 score episodes. I don't know why I'm doing the Gettysburg Address all of a sudden. Where we don't look into this at all. And there isn't even, there's politics and stuff in between, like the Amazon trio.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of happens in the Amazon S Quartet, but it's mostly just the boss yelling at them and them going out and doing stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas there is a deeper sort of theme or underlying dynamic in the relationship between Professor Tomoe and the Witch's Five.
Right.
And sure, the horse got very, stick-like for the last 2 or 3.
Yes.
But the idea that, and I don't know how Pharaoh 90 feels about women, but I know whatever's possessing Tomoe doesn't like women.
Right.
And we talk about how the show embraces the idea that girls love makeup and jewelry, but also encourages them to be more, to perform, to have integrity, to push themselves, to be heroic. And so having a man who rules over all these women and passive aggressively manipulates them,
right,
and makes them all these promises that he doesn't intend to keep, it becomes this idea of the sort of thing that you're going to run into this. First year, there's going to be some queen bitches out there. They're going to try to keep you down.
Yeah, right.
And then some guy's going to try to argue in the future.
Oh my
Watch
gosh.
out for that.
Yeah.
And then your boss is going to, manipulate you and gaslight you and all that. Supers is 39 episodes long. And then for Sailor Stars, do you know what I mean? There is no underlying dynamic to make it sort of related to. There's no metaphor that I can think of.
I can't think of anything.
It's a circus.
It's
a circus.
It's a circus.
With apologies to Captain Twink. It's a circus.
It's a circus. They're snippy. They're sassy.
Right.
They don't like their boss.
Right.
But that's
and I don't know what happens in the manga, but there is an idea there of the Amazonesses, at least, the animals that became horny people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Horny drunks. But the Amazonesses do, I think, represent, a sort of twisted version of what the sailors could have become, or sailors who are raised without the ideals that the sailors actually have.
Sure.
What if you had the power to make voodoo dolls and commercial real estate?
Right.
And you had no scruples or morals, but you had no dream. You had nothing to have morals for,
right.
Nothing to act upon.
Right.
You were nihilistic. And that's who these guys are.
That's true.
And I think that's like kind of interesting. We also kind of got that in our a little bit. With,
yeah.
The Aikashi sisters.
Yes.
But it's just not, there's just nothing original and there's nothing solid like there is in those other seasons. And that's, I frustrate.
It's disappointing.
I frustrate.
Yeah.
I like, and I know this isn't a thing, but I like the way that single webs across a frame look like cracks in a mirror.
Oh,
and
I didn't think about that.
Unfortunately, I'm fairly convinced, did also not think about that.
Oh, man.
But
yeah, I think you're right.
It's been 30-something episodes. There's been a mirror in every single one of them.
Yes.
And we're not doing any mirror stuff. We've done a couple things where Chibi has seen herself as an adult, or she's switched places with Usagi.
Yes.
But the idea of images and how you see yourself, and
they are not doing a whole lot.
There's nothing really been done with that.
Queen Helenia tries to go outside of the mirror.
Right, but that's just a legend / Prince of Darkness thing.
Yeah.
Just using that underlying metaphor. When it's gone, it's so subtle and it's a kid's show that you don't necessarily feel it when it's there, but you feel it when it's gone.
Yeah. I think they could have done a lot more with the image that you see of yourself, like how you see yourself through the mirror. And I feel like Chibi has gotten reflective when she's talking to Pegasus, and I didn't even realize I've said that like that. And she's, having a heart-to-heart with him or over something.
Learning terrible lessons.
She's looking inward, and she's kind of looking at herself.
It's funny because he had to walk back alone. Learning bad jokes.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
But we could have gotten that with like a mirror too. But instead of a mirror, we have the Pegasus phone.
Oh, you mean like her looking in the mirror like Stuart Smalley and being like,
yeah,
do 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 do. What did I learn? How do I feel about that?
Pegasus said such and such today. Does that make me feel?
I guess.
I don't know.
What does ASL mean exactly? Yeah, not great. And then, hey, I got to point it out. They've been getting my letters.
What?
They're doing spider stuff.
They are doing
I'm
spider
talking about
stuff.
Spider-Man for 161 episodes. Now finally they're doing spider stuff.
Yeah, I know. What did you think about like the dew on the spider web, and then it's a great day, whatever Ikoko Mama was talking about?
Is that real?
I don't know.
Thing?
I've never heard of that before.
It seems like that could be a thing.
I guess.
It's like a summer thing.
Yeah, a summer thing. And it's winter, right?
And the second half of the parable is, if you see a spider web in winter, run!
All of you relax. This is a matter of inconvenient timing, that's all. Rebooting the podcast was inevitable. This is simply the beginning. I thought I told all of you I want broadcast silence until further.
Ooh, I'm very sorry, Cal. I didn't get that message. Maybe you should have put it on Twitter. I figured since you were relaunching the Just Enough Trope podcast, you might be a little lonely, so I decided to be your co-host.
That's very kind of you. I assume you're our mysterious podcaster. You're most troublesome for a Sailor Moon fan?
Sorry, Cal. Wrong guess. Would you like to go for an all-new show where the hosts haven't really changed?
Who are you, then?
Just a fly in the ointment, Cal. The dye in the hard. The moon and the lighting.
She's talking about the rebooted Just Enough Trope, where we'll dive deep into the pop culture elements that make up your favorite movies, TV shows, comics, and video games. See if she's lying about moonlighting and find out if Bruno has returned.
No, respect yourself.
Miss Mystery Guest, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Unless you want to sing a duet with me.
No, I'm afraid not. But you have me at a loss. You know my name, but who are you? Just another podcast host who saw too many movies as a child? Another orphan of a bankrupt culture who thinks she's John McClane, Corbin Dallas, a crooning Alcapop pitchman?
I was always kind of partial to Seagram's Golden Wine Cooler, actually. It's wet and it's dry.
Do you really think you have a chance with this new show, Ms. Co-host?
Yippee-ki-yay, Mother Cooler.
Just Enough Trope, 40 stories of sheer pop culture deconstruction. Available everywhere you listen to your favorite shows.
Do I sound like I'm ordering a podcast?
Today for Kuro Kuro Miru, or Curiously Looking Around, where we talk about elements of Japanese culture within the episode, we're going to be talking about the video game industry in Japan.
Oh!
Yeah.
I don't really know a lot about video game industry in Japan.
Really?
I don't know a lot about video games.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know a lot about video games.
I know that they love the PSP. But it didn't do well over here.
It's interesting because
there's a bigger market for mobile stuff.
Yes,
that's
in
not
Japan.
Nintendo.
Yeah,
because of course people love the DS and Switch and stuff like that. Here.
Yes,
but anytime anybody else tries to do something, it doesn't really work out very well.
No, it doesn't. But
the PSP and the Vita lasted for. The Vita's still around in Japan.
Yeah, mobile gaming is huge in Japan.
Yeah,
it's
all that train travel.
Yeah, exactly.
Really,
they're the they're the number one country for mobile gaming. Like they do more mobile gaming than anybody else.
Huh.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting too. Japan is the third largest market in video gaming industry, followed by China and the U.S., with a value of $29 billion in 2021. The gaming market grew 12% in Japan in 2021. Japan sold $2.7 billion in console gaming, $3.8 billion in PC gaming, and $22.5 billion in mobile gaming.
This is like U.S. dollars.
Yes.
Yeah.
U.S. dollars. Yes. Thank you.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Japan is among the top 5 countries in all these areas of gaming, and the largest growth was with mobile games, which went up 14% in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they're still doing the Keitai phones.
Yes.
But they have made some concessions, right? Like they have like touch screens now. They're not quite like the brick smartphones that we have.
I think they're a little bit different, but
so
yeah.
that mobile gaming isn't like just like mobile consoles, it is.
I think some
your
people
Candy
have
Crush
or
whatever.
Some people have smartphones, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Or iPhone.
Yeah. So from Wikipedia, quote, Sega produced gun games that used rear image projection in a manner similar to the ancient zoetrope to produce moving animations on a screen. The first of these, the light gun game Duck Hunt, appeared in 1969. It featured animated moving targets on a screen, printed out the player's score on a ticket, and had a volume controllable sound effects. So I think it's important to mention...
Did the dog go, ooh, when it laughs at you?
But I think it's important to point out that stuff was happening, before the 70s. I mean, it's right before the 70s, so 1969, but...
And 69, and then Pong came out in...
God, it was like 72,
early
73.
70, 71, 72, something like that. So this is like a light gun game. I guess it's a video game. It uses electricity.
Right.
But there's no real video, right? It's on a screen.
You're right.
So, okay, that's interesting. And then, of course, it all ties back to their long history with gaming machines.
Yes.
That predates, as a manual pachinko machine, a video game or a pinball machine.
I think you could consider it.
It's gaming.
It's related.
Yeah, forsooth, I am a gamer. Skittles.
Skittles?
Yeah, Skittles is a game where you knock the pins over.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
From Wikipedia, quote, Taito and Namco were some of the early adapters of arcade games in Japan, first distributing American games before developing their own. Nintendo, which at the time was primarily manufacturing traditional and electronic toys, also entered the arcade game market in the late part of the 1970s.
Playing card company.
Yes.
They say playing cards, but like playing cards and toys and other little amusements. But yeah.
Other little games and that sort of thing. From Wikipedia, quote, Sega's black and white boxing game Heavyweight Champ was released in 1976 as the first video game to feature fist fighting.
Okay.
Fisticuffs.
Sure.
Yeah. Huh. So,
was it all kicking before that?
I don't know. It's a great question. From Wikipedia, quote, the first stealth games were Hiroshi Suzuki's Mambiki Shonen, 1979, and Mambiki Shoujo, 1980, Taito's Lupin III, 1980, and Sega's 005, 1981. From Wikipedia, quote, Japan's first home video game console was Epoch's TV Tennis Electro Tennis. It was followed by the first successful Japanese console, Nintendo's Color TV game, in 1977. Okay, so I guess there were some out before then.
Yeah,
but...
well, I mean, like Atari had been around since the late 70s.
That's true. Which was made in partnership with Mitsubishi Electronics. Numerous other dedicated home consoles were made mostly by television manufacturers, leading these systems to be called TV Gameu or Terebi Gameu in Japan. So,
you poor people.
I know.
Just use your own word for it.
I know. It's right there.
Terebi Gameu. That's what we're going to go with. All right, I guess.
From Wikipedia, quote, from 1980 to 1991, Nintendo produced a line of handheld electronic games called Game & Watch.
Yeah.
Created by game designer Gunpei Yokoi, each Game & Watch features a single game to be played on an LCD screen. It was the earliest Nintendo product to gain major success.
LCD people probably know, but if they don't, it's what the old watches used to be made of. It's just a gray background and then, cells that light up or not. And so you make shapes. And so the Game & Watch would be, there's a little guy, right? The little Game & Watch guy.
Sure.
Mascot. And he would be playing a sport or climbing up a tree. Don't let the monkeys throw bananas at you.
Right.
And you can't, it's just like the little, you can be in one of expositions and they light up, if you're there and you're moving it around with a cross controller. A cross. Is the man Christ.
Oh my gosh.
And two little buttons. Now people would know now because of like this nostalgia thing, like Nintendo has revived that brand and I think they're releasing little Game & Watch games now again.
Really?
Yeah. When's electronic football coming back? That's what I want to know.
What is electronic football?
It's a little, I used to I played that so much. A little thing, I can't remember who manufactures it. Company doesn't exist anymore, but it's so hard to describe.
It's okay.
It's not, it's an LED, not an LCD.
Okay.
And it's a football field.
Okay.
And I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't even make any sense. It starts and you have to move down the field.
Okay, sure.
And the lights will change, and if you run into one of the lights, right, that's a block, you get stopped.
Okay, sure.
There's a baseball one too.
Okay.
Where the little light comes down, it's the ball, and you have to hit the thing at the right time, and then you get a certain number of bases depending on how you hit it.
Sure.
And it's all fixed. It's the field is painted onto the plastic.
Okay.
But underneath the lights, the diodes go on and show you where you are, where the ball is, and stuff like that.
That sounds like fun.
It's funny because the more advanced video games get, it starts off, it's very conceptual.
Yes.
You are a little man, and then you can go to these places based on where you're moving it to.
Right.
Or the light is you, and the other light is the ball.
Right.
Right? And now it's just, that's all right, girl. You are literally just a cowboy in a world.
Yeah.
And so... And then obviously what we're trying to bridge that completely by just like putting it on your head and like
virtual
these are
reality.
Your hands and now you're just living life. And
right.
You wake up, you have to go to work.
Right.
In the game.
From Wikipedia, quote, the North American video game industry was devastated by the 1983 video game crash, but in Japan it was more of a surprise to developers and typically known in Japan as the Atari Shock.
Which is weird because Japan loves ET.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe they bought all the rest of the ET cartridges.
Oh, you think?
All the ones that weren't in a landfill in Arizona.
I know.
We're just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Just playing ET on the Atari. This is great. I'm phoning home every night.
Oh my God. So that was part of the crash, right?
That was a huge part of the crash. There was other elements to it that are outside the scope of this conversation, but and there was also the same thing we talked about with like printing and publishing, how in comics, you would buy comics sort of by the pack or the pound or whatever, and then if they didn't sell well, you could return them to the company and get like some or all of your money back.
Okay.
And so that changed a lot when direct distribution and the monopoly on direct distribution forced a lot of companies out of the industry, made it too expensive to publish. It was the same thing with Atari, because Atari had, licensed games, and they tried to lock down those licenses. So they mostly developed all the games themselves, but then you could apply to, and Nintendo did this as well when Nintendo came back after the crash, you could apply to make a game under their auspices.
Atari. Yeah.
But they couldn't really lock down the technology, and so a lot of third-party people made, like not really bootleg. They were their official releases, but they made like non-official Atari things. And so the sense of what the quality of a game was got a lot lower.
Sure.
And then there was this thing with E.T. where it was a tie-in with the
movie.
Spielberg movie and Universal. I can't remember who did E.T. And so, and there was a lot of advanced buy. Like you basically like the stores had bought them ahead of time. The game was terrible. Nobody wanted it. And I'm not sure there's a big crossover. You'd think kids would want to play an ET game, but it turns out not. And so everybody took a bath on it. And this was not, video games were new.
Yeah.
This could have been like superhero movies or something, This could have been like, people are tired of this. They don't want it anymore.
Yeah, right.
So people weren't willing to bet on it. And it took a nosedive.
Yeah.
The whole market.
It's crazy.
But Japan's like, I love this.
Handheld games. Yeah, right. After the video game crash, analysts doubted the long-term viability of the video game industry. 1983 marked the initial console competition, with Sega's SG-1000 and Nintendo's Famicom, or Nintendo Entertainment System, NES internationally, were first being sold. By the end of 1984, the Famicom was best-selling console in Japan. In 1989, Nintendo dominated the market for handheld consoles with the Game Boy. Sega was able to put stress on Nintendo when it came to home consoles. The 1988 release of the Sega Mega Drive was Sega's first console launch outside of Japan. And while the Mega Drive was not as successful in Japan, it was a big hit in the States, eventually winning out over Nintendo thanks to its 16-bit technology.
Yeah, do the math, they used to say.
Really?
That was the ad campaign.
Oh my gosh. That sounds like a strong ad campaign.
Well, at this point, it's like, do you like it? Are you having fun? Later, I think it would definitely become, and remains today, an issue of what can you play?
Yeah.
For exclusivity was a thing for a long time. We were talking earlier about how Sega, when they were in the mix, lost out on a lot of exclusivity deals.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I bought a Sega Saturn, other than doing the math, because it was a superior product to the PlayStation, and even could kind of compete with the PlayStation 2, was that the numbers were higher. It had more hard drive space, had a bigger processor, and also it had this game called Tomb Raider that I wanted to play.
Uh-huh.
And I, waited for a long time to get a Saturn, and then finally, played Tomb Raider, and it was great. Tomb Raider 2, Sony's like, here's some money. You're only going to be on Sony's from now on. And so there was no Tomb Raider 2 on Saturn. And at that point, it was like, what am I going to do? Play Knights? Not Knights. But so, like losing out on exclusivity was a big deal. As the game market and the industry went on, it became more advantageous to everybody to get a chunk of the profits from a game. So you'd see exclusivity get down to like a month. For a month, it'll be on PlayStation.
Sure.
But the developers are like, we want everybody's money, not just Sony PlayStation money.
Right.
But now that's kind of going back the other way, mostly because big capital companies are buying all these publishers, and they're tied to Microsoft,
right?
Which has not only the Xbox and PC, but its own like Game Pass distribution, a digital distribution model.
Right.
And so you're seeing exclusivity now return to a lot of video game circles.
Yeah.
By the time, that was a big deal because you could only play something over here or over there.
Right.
And like with the NES and like Genesis, you can't just say, well, we flipped a switch and now you can play it on this. It has to be completely reworked.
Right.
So like a game on the Super Nintendo would look one way, but it would look another way on Genesis because it has to be basically built back from the ground up.
Right.
Whereas now a lot of these machines kind of work on a similar protocol. So you can just go bip, bip, bip. Now you can play Call of Duty on, Nintendo or something like that.
Right. Right. Okay.
So that was very limiting.
Yeah. It sounds very limiting.
So one of the reasons that I've had Nintendo consoles sporadically throughout my life because, don't get mad at me, I like Mario. I'm just not like, I got to play every single Mario game.
Sure.
But if I was that way, I would have gotten, a Nintendo at every point.
Yeah. I mean, that makes
sense. But I was a Tomb Raider guy. So I needed every single PlayStation there was.
Yeah, right. I mean, Mario's fun. And
the Mario games are great.
Yeah.
They're absolutely great. I'd just rather be a girl in hot pants shooting dinosaurs with twin 45s.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's ain't nothing wrong with that. That's America. Right. Wait, she's British. That's Britain. That's a Muppet Christmas Carol joke.
Oh, okay. Due to the widely anticipated release of Nintendo's SNES in 1990
the SNES
Japan.
For our British listeners?
Yes.
We know that the Brits are listening.
For the SNES, yes.
you people! Why do you think you can just say an initialism like it's a word? I don't understand.
Toss.
Yeah, right. And don't give me radar. That's a word formed out of letters. Laser. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. And 1991, 1992 in North America and Europe, Nintendo came out ahead. And even though Sega's Saturn's console was sold big numbers in Japan, the release of Sony's PlayStation in 1994 and the enormous hit it was overseas made Sega the loser in what was now the three-way battle.
Yeah. The SNES did edge the Genesis out. Not by much. But once the PlayStation 2 came around, it's crazy. Yeah. Babies had PlayStation 2s. Everybody had a PlayStation 2.
It was very, very popular.
Yeah.
From Wikipedia, quote, by 1988, industry observers stated that NES's popularity had grown so quickly that the market for Nintendo cartridges was larger than that for all home computer software. Mm-hmm. By mid-1986, 19%, or 6.5 million, of Japanese households owned a Famicom, 1/3 by 1988. In June 1989, Nintendo of America's Vice President of Marketing, Peter Main, said that Famicom was present in 37% of Japan's households. By the end of its run, over 60 million NES units had been sold throughout the world. In 1990, Nintendo surpassed Toyota as Japan's most successful corporation.
Yeah, sure. And they're Nintendo.
Yeah.
They have a lot of like IP and they make a lot of money, but they're not even selling the most units at this point.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When we hit the 5th generation, which would be like 32-bit, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, Sega Saturn, they sold like 33 million units over the life of the N64.
Yeah.
But the PlayStation sold 75 million.
Right.
So they've got they're fighting over the last third of the market with Sega, while Sony's owns most of the whole thing at that point.
I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. From Wikipedia, quote, Shigeru Miyamoto remains internationally renowned as a, quote, father of video gaming, end quote, and is the only game developer so far to receive Japan's highest civilian honor for artists, the Bunka Korosha, or a person of cultural merit.
It's so circumspect.
Yeah.
The British are like, you're the Order of the British Empire. You are now unofficially part of this thing. Oh, let me hit you with this sword. In Japan, it's like, it's a good job. Here's a Subway Club card.
Oh, my God.
There's a couple stamps left on there. Yeah, he's all right. He's an okay citizen.
He did all right. Here's your stamp of approval.
Yeah, right in your forehead.
Yeah. Unlike many other video game producers who were programmers, Miyamoto studied industrial design and relayed his design knowledge into his games. Suddenly, video games didn't need complicated instructions. The player was able to figure out what to do just by looking at the screen, which is revolutionary.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I guess.
You guess?
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of secrets that you find in Mario games that aren't necessarily, laboriously explained to you. But yeah. Although I will say, most games have tutorials now.
Yeah,
where
that's
it's
true.
like, pick this up. Okay. Throw it at that guy. Ah, okay. That's how you do that.
Shoot this thing.
Right.
Okay.
And Miyamoto's like, no, you just put them in a situation where there's only this thing, and then you throw the thing, and it's all organic. Shut up, okay, guy.
Oh my God.
Wash that stamp off your forehead.
From Wikipedia, quote, following the release of Famicom Nintendo Entertainment System, the global video game industry began recovering, with annual sales exceeding $2.3 billion by 1988, with 70% of the market dominated by Nintendo. From Wikipedia, quote, in response, Nintendo limited the number of titles that third-party developers, this is what you were talking about before, could release from their system each year, and promoted its, quote, seal of quality, end quote, which is allowed to be used on games and peripherals by publishers that met Nintendo's quality standards.
Yeah, and isn't it, so I've played video games my whole life. I know some stuff about the history, but I'm not one of these people that knows I can't even remember which generation we're on. Like, I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah.
But I know that the development of the PlayStation was intended to be a successor to the Famicom.
Yeah, actually, I was going to get to
that. Oh, okay, sorry.
But
sorry.
No, it's
but
okay.
Yeah, but like that, I just want to make the point that their relentless need to control for quality reasons,
yes,
but also for the cut, for money reasons.
Yes.
Made them basically create their greatest nemesis.
No, you're absolutely 100% correct about that.
Sony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In 1988, Nintendo and Sony, just going to start talking about it right now.
Okay, well, good.
Started working together on a high-performance version of the Super NES, capable of playing both regular cartridges and new disc format. Nintendo was interested in using CD-ROM technology, which Sony was making consistent at the time with Philips. So they're making CD-ROMs.
Yeah.
Sony is. So that's why they partnered with them. Mm-hmm. Sony would brand and produce the console. But after it was announced at the 1991 Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, the deal fell apart over profit-sharing disagreement. The Nintendo PlayStation never came to be, but Sony reworked the idea into its own console, which used regular CD-ROMs and, of course, became the PlayStation.
Right.
So, wow. Yeah. Way to create your own worst enemy.
Money got too good.
Rival. Yeah.
Got greedy.
The Switch allows for both Japanese and Western styles of video gaming. In Japan, the majority of people play video games on the go or socially, and in the US, the majority of people play at home by themselves. So it's kind of, I think it's really interesting because it feels like Nintendo was really trying to think about how can we, get interest in this particular console in Japan, but also in the West. And I feel like they really tried to think about it.
And they've had the ability to. I'm just realizing now that we're going to have to do another video game show in the future. There's no way we can talk about, everything. We're only up to, we went from we didn't even get to GameCube, you know what I mean? We went from basically Super Nintendo to the Switch. But yeah, once unlike Sega, who found their market share dwindling and basically got out of the hardware business and then are now relegated to basically developing for other people or just selling off their characters for, Mario, Sonic, Olympics or whatever.
Right.
Nintendo found themselves in a position where they just weren't going to be the front runner, but they still had a ton of money.
Yes.
They were still one of the richest companies in the world.
Yes.
And so they were like, let's be the cool uncle. Let's be the niche sort of thing. Let's have the Wii controllers. Obviously, we want to make money,
right?
But we're allowed now to not keep making the same Tomb Raider or Call of Duty game over and over. We can innovate in the space, and create things that people feel like they need to go out and get, and not just continue to buy the same title with a new number after it, every time,
right?
Which has led to some successes like the Wii, which embryos had Wiis, everybody had a Wii, right? And some failures like the Wii U. Nobody wanted that.
What was the difference between the Wii and the Wii U?
The Wii U was their kind of first attempt at a handheld / home console.
Okay.
It was this big, unwieldy thing.
Okay.
That had a screen in it.
Okay.
And it was somehow designed to, you would use it with your TV, but also in your hands, and then you would do this and that.
That sounds really clunky.
It was. And then they refined that and really got it right with the Switch.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
And mine's right over there. But I don't really play it all that much.
You don't?
Well, I play Zelda games.
Yeah.
but again, a lot of the things that they have, if they'd make more Metroid games, I guess I'd be playing it more.
Yeah.
A lot of things they have are available on my PC or my PS5 that cost me $700. So I just end up playing it there.
Right. Well, I mean, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
So... the Japanese government has been a powerful advocate of the video game industry, providing money for research and development, as well as tax incentives for game developers. Additionally, the government has been working to elevate the video game industry as an important part of the country's economy, acknowledging the considerable contributions that the industry makes to the country's GDP.
Yeah.
In 2023, the video game revenue in Japan is projected to reach $25.84 billion US. Two of the top 3 highest selling video games in 2022 in Japan were Pokemon games. The titles are Pokemon Scarlet / Violet and Pokemon Legends Arceus. The two sold more than 4.6 million copies in 2022 and are on the way to doing it again in 2023. This goes especially for Pokemon Scarlet Violet, which started the year as a bestseller with nearly 450,000 copies sold in Japan.
I'm getting sweaty.
Yep.
You're talking about Pokemon.
I know. Then there's Pokemon Go, which still remains one of the top smartphone games in Japan, some 7 years after its initial release.
Okay.
So...
Nobody asked me any questions. So.
Nobody asked you any questions.
I'm okay.
You're okay. I just think it's interesting that they're so popular, that the games are so popular.
Pokemon?
Yeah.
It's colorful. This is going to sound like I'm trying to reduce it. For whatever reason you like Pokemon, I think that's great. But it's colorful. It's got the compulsive collect 'em thing. They're cute little monsters. It's a story that's easy to understand. It's a hero that's easy to understand. Or you are the hero if you're, the Pokemon trainer. It's multi-generational. And so, yeah, there's absolutely no reason that it shouldn't have lasted this long. I do kind of keep up on some of the games and people's reactions to them. And I think a lot of the recent games have been kind of like, are you serious? This is not as good as
some of the other games.
As could be expected. I think the video game side of it is experiencing growing pains. It's one thing to just have a Zelda-esque thing where you walk around and then there's a Pokemon and you gotta fight them, and trying to take it into the 3D space, trying to take it into like the adventure game space. I think they've run into some problems with that.
Okay.
But they'll figure it out.
Yeah,
it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, it's not. I just think it's interesting that I don't know. I mean, obviously it's something that's popular with people who are like our age, or possibly older. People who like were watching the cartoon when it came out over in the U.S. and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're talking about Japan here. So when it came out in Japan,
it's a Japanese property.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Still nervous.
Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. Your favorite Pokemon is
No, I know. You said you wouldn't do this.
Snorlax.
Screw you.
You said Snorlax.
Oh, yeah, because he gets to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was trying to quiz you.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, the Pokemon.
I give Cal a heart attack. I ruined it, everybody.
Ask me whatever you want about Robotech, but no Pokemon.
Itadakimasu with Usagi. What did Usagi eat in this episode? Chibiusa and Mamo had lots of treats and drinks while they were waiting for the Senshi to join them. Yeah. And Chibiusa was very mad at them for being late. She berates Usagi because she said she would treat her to anything she wanted if she finished the race.
You have to watch me eat it. That's half of the fun.
That's right.
As I go, another parfait, please.
For the winner.
I had to do that to Mamo.
Yeah.
And he was just
not
like,
fair.
Keep eating, honey. It's not fun.
There's no fun in that. Feel engaged, we rate a baddie 1 to 5 dark stars, 5 being the most wicked. There's no lemur in this episode.
Yeah.
So I thought instead we could talk a little bit about the quartets, or their celestial bodies that they're named after.
Oh.
Because we said this before, but this was like, I think when they first joined. So Siri is Ceres.
I didn't even think about that.
Pala is Pallas.
They're named after asteroids.
Yes. And June is Juno, and Ves is Vesta.
Huh.
So I thought we'd just do a little bit of information about each one.
Yeah. So
Ceres is a dwarf planet in the middle of the main asteroid belt between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. It was the first asteroid discovered on the 1st of January, 1801 by Giuseppe Piazzi at Palermo Astronomical Observatory in Sicily. Palermo, okay. And announced as a new planet. So when it was first observed, it was a planet. So, then they said it was an asteroid. Yeah. Now it's a dwarf planet.
All right, this ain't Pokemon. We're back in my neighborhood. So William Herschel discovered Uranus in 1781 and did it basically. The next couple things that were discovered were all discovered not necessarily through the idea of their orbit and mass, because they weren't thinking about that then.
Sure.
But the intervals for the estimated distances between, say, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and so on and so forth made them go, well, if these are all, I don't know if they use this language, but if these are all like, resonances, that there should be something out beyond Saturn.
Sure.
And there should be something between Mars and Jupiter as well.
Right.
So when Herschel found Uranus, the game was on.
Yeah, sure.
And everybody started looking for planets. And I think the next 20 asteroids that they found were like, oh, these are planets.
Yeah,
They're
right.
really small.
Right,
but these are planets.
Yeah.
So this was like the 19th century version of the Pluto, 2005 Pluto controversy.
Yes.
Where suddenly it's like, oh, we've got 20 planets now.
Yeah.
And then later, as they found Neptune in 1846, 1840s.
Something like that.
They're like, all right, we got to pull it back in. I guess these aren't really planets.
Yes.
And I don't remember exactly who it was, but somebody was like, I think they're like asteroids, which means the aster star. Oid is, a form of star. So these are not quite minor planets.
Yes, right.
Or dwarf planets.
Right.
And they had to downgrade them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ceres was later classified as an asteroid and then a dwarf planet, the only one always inside Neptune's orbit.
Yeah.
So it Ceres is smaller than the moon, just to give people an idea.
At first they didn't know that.
Okay.
Because they weren't, again, doing the same estimates of mass based on orbit and
sure.
Gravity, and they were doing it visually.
Right.
And they were very bright. So they're like, oh, this is big. This is as big as the moon. But that size and that figure got reduced more and more as they did the equations, and we're like, okay, actually I don't think this is that big.
Yeah. Okay. It's the biggest asteroid or dwarf planet of the 4, though.
Yeah, it's the biggest non-planet, non-moon body in the system that we know of.
Right. that we know of.
Because we're finding new stuff all the time.
That's true. The dwarf planet is named after Ceres, the Roman goddess of agriculture. Pallas Minor Planet designation to Pallas is the second asteroid to have been discovered after Ceres, and is believed
like a year after.
Yeah, it's believed to have mineral composition similar to carbonaceous chondrite meteorites, like Ceres, though significantly less hydrated than Ceres. It is the third largest asteroid in the solar system by both volume and mass, and is likely a remnant protoplanet. This asteroid is named after Greek goddess Pallas, aka Athena.
Right.
So.
Yeah, yeah. Spoiler alert. These are all named after girls.
Yes.
So just as we were getting some more girl planets.
Yeah.
So they're like, nope, sorry, these aren't planets. You're on your own, Venus.
Good freaking point.
Well, Earth, if you want to go with like Gaia or whatever, I suppose. But yeah, there's only
That's a bit of a stretch, but I guess.
only one girl planet.
That's true.
Yep.
That's BS. Nako, help us change that. So 3 Juno is a large asteroid in the asteroid belt. Juno was the third asteroid discovered in 1804 by German astronomer Karl Harding. It is one of the 20 largest asteroids in one of the 2 largest stony S-type asteroids along the 15 Eunomia. Juno is named after the mythological Juno, the highest Roman goddess. So, like Hera?
Yeah, Jupiter's wife.
Okay, got it. So for Vesta, minor planet designation for Vesta is one of the largest objects in the asteroid belt with a mean diameter of 525 kilometers or 326 miles. It was discovered by the German astronomer Heinrich Wilhelm Matthias Oblers on the 29th of March, 1807, and is named after Vesta, the virgin goddess of home and hearth from Roman mythology. Upon its discovery, Vesta was, like Ceres, Pallas, and Juno before it, classified as a planet and given a planetary symbol. The symbol represented the altar of Vesta with a sacred fire and was designed by Gauss.
Yeah, it's funny because once they started adding all these new, because you're saying it's like 1 Ceres, 2 Pallas, 3 Juno. The reason that they're 1, 2, 3 is because they're just counting these as they discover them, and they get to like 30 something.
Oh my gosh!
And before they stop and go, all right, listen, maybe we're gonna find a lot of these things, and we're gonna run out of like mythological people, so we're just gonna start naming it after people or what, give them long numbers, and that's how kind of we do it today. But also they would have the symbol as well, because it's like, this is important.
Yeah, right.
These symbols have existed since antiquity.
Right.
You know, ancient astronomers, because we've known about the planets up to Saturn for all of human existence, essentially. Uranus is the first of the non-classical planets, right? So they all had their own little symbols. You've seen them in Sailor Moon.
Yep.
And so they would give them new symbols. But as they started to get down and they found, okay, I found rock number 27. It's over here. Here's the symbol. It's a guy having a Taco Bell poop. And he's really hungover.
Gross.
And they got more and more complicated, all these drawings. And the point of the drawings was that they were easy to do. If you were making observations, you could draw that little thing instead of having to write out
the whole name,
some whole thing. Yeah, right. So they would use these as shorthand. And there's a funny quote from a guy, in the 19th century who was saying, like, I think maybe we should just start doing numbers. Just write the number, like this is number 35 and put a circle around it, because the artistry required for is probably not given to all astronomers to draw the little confetti going out of the elephant's nose or whatever. It's just like, can we just write the numbers, please, like they're cue balls? Because this is too much.
I get that. That seems very real.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I think this is interesting because Naoko Takeuchi.
Yep.
Sometimes she's like Einstein. We challenge her and she's always right. And so you wonder, like, why are you naming these people after asteroids? Did you run out of metals to name them after? And then you realize, and this is again my pet theory, but I think it feeds into it, that if these 4 girls are kind of Bobo sailors in a way.
Mm-hmm.
They're fighting our good girls,
Yep.
who are all named after major planets and all have a sense of rightness and justice. And if these are 4 girls who are a little younger, however that works if you're a mystical dream being, they look like little girls.
Yes.
And don't have the same integrity and don't have the same sense of moral rectitude and using their powers for good things. They're kind of like failed planets in that way. It makes perfect sense to name them after asteroids.
I think that's
who
a
were
very
downgraded
valid
from
point.
planets.
Yeah.
Beep, beep. She got us again. She got us again.
Oh, that's great. Now we're up to our rating. I like that Usagi thinks she's found a gray hair on a me, but it turned out to be a spider web. I like how Chibiusa chastised Usagi for being late to crown. I don't like that Mamoru seems like he's really hurt, but he says he's okay. Like, don't say you're okay when you're not okay. All right.
He's tough.
I know. I can't believe it's taken the teams this long to figure out that the creepy circus in town are the bad guys, especially since like all the bad guys have been circus themed, and it's also the most obvious bad guy base yet. They're like, we have to find their base. Where could it be? The Big Top.
You know,
what?
they're trying not to profile. Okay? There's this new circus. We all know that people in the circus have faced a lot of discrimination over the years.
Yeah.
So what? So what? There's a bunch of weird, evil dream characters who are tightrope walking and eating fire. Of course, it's the circus people. Every time. Well, we're not going to be those people. Oh, it was the circus people. God damn it.
I should have known.
They were there the whole time.
I like how Sailor Moon gets her game face on and gets everyone to transform. And I really do like the song a lot. I think it's a really fun song. I just feel like it's, okay. It's an okay episode. So for me, an okay episode is 3 roses.
I don't want to have the feeling that you have expressed, which is 3, because it just seems like you should lose a point for me not having the desire to rate it, right? Do you know what I mean?
You're right.
You shouldn't get a 3 for that.
Yeah, you're right.
But that being said, it is finally kind of paying off some stuff that we've been waiting for a while, even though the payoff is... Why wasn't this like the middle of the season?
It should have been
like
more
with R.
Yeah.
It wasn't really the middle. I guess they spotted them, the Ale and On episodes, but like, and then, or like, 3 acts, right? 2/3 of the way through. Because it's not like the next one, it's over. Like we are going to have this extended, finale or coda.
Yes.
Presumably. But yeah, it just comes so late. But then once it happens, like it's what you want to see. It's all right, screw these guys. And, we've got the teams. Hopefully they're going to fight again, but they line up and fight. And just the image of Siri, like literally sitting on like a pile of discarded mirrors is playing into the horrific nature of what they've been doing this whole time.
Yeah, that's
in
true.
a way that we weren't doing when a bunch of like horny drunks were just kind of going like, I will finish this date.
Yeah, right.
It's fun to play it. It's fine to play it for comedy. But now we're just kind of getting in. It's getting dark. It's getting nihilistic.
Yeah.
I think that matches, the evil dream queen and what they're up to. And so, yeah, I mean... I hate to say, brought it around again, beep, beep. But yeah, I mean, like it works. Now it only works to a 3. It doesn't work to a 4 or a 5. Not yet. But it does work.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it 3.
Okay. My English title for this episode is Lies of Web Spider Thread.
Madam Web, you are dead. Okay. It's
not very strong, but that's about as much effort I wanted to put in for this episode. It's hard to know.
I mean, if you haven't seen it, but you have.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know where it's going still. I still don't really know where it's going.
It's hard to know where it's going at this point.
I mean, I guess I didn't
get a sense of it.
That's true. I guess I there were hints, but I didn't know that friggin' yellow plant monster was going to come out of Professor Tomoe.
I know.
When it happened. Or I didn't know that that Uranus was going to like commit suicide.
I know.
And that's how they'd save the day.
I know.
So I'm kind of wondering, I just literally don't know, because they can always pull something amazing that they've been saving for 35 episodes out of their hat. But I don't know what they can do at this point other than fight some more crazy clown creatures.
Yes.
CCCs. And then just put it to bed. And I have no idea how we're going to finally pay off the Pegasus / Helios Chibiusa thing.
The golden mirror.
Right.
All the MacGuffins.
Yes. All the MacGuffins that you have steadfastly kept foreknowledge or any hints to us from us this whole time, I guess will eventually pay off. So I'd almost want to just hold all my ratings, for the next 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Including the previous 2. Just like 7 ratings TBA. However you land it, then I'll go back and retroactively rate them all. But that's not what we do.
No, that's not what we do.
So we won't.
But...
we also give our titles at the end. So my title for this episode is Dream World Wide Web.
Nice. Next episode, we are talking about episode number 162. Yami no Shingenchi Dedo Moon Sakasu in Japanese. The Source of Darkness, Dead Moon Circus, the English translation, and the English title, Showtime Showdown.
Showbiz, that's where the animatronic monkey plays while you eat pizza.
Oh, yeah.
What's the deal with tokens? I know what the deal with tokens is.
What?
It's to get your money.
Oh, yes.
But ultimately, if you just cut out a step, I've got quarters.
Yeah, I know.
I can buy a roll of quarters.
Yes.
If your games are addictive enough, and you don't control that, but they're video games, I'm going to put the whole roll in the video game machine.
Yeah, of course.
I don't need to go to a thing. And then sometimes later on when things got bad, they're like, it's time to start, picking this pumpkin patch. And so it was like, you get 3 tokens for $1.
That's a ripoff.
Well, it's a ripoff. I don't know when the decision got made that now a video game just costs 4 quarters to play.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the cut goes back to Aladdin's Castle, or if that's all going back to Namco. Like, I don't know how it works.
Right.
But the thing was, get them to pay, give us the money, then you can have the tokens. And it's like, but you got to pay for a guy to bring the tokens and take them out of the machine. What if you just counted the money?
Yeah.
I never understood that.
I don't understand it either. It seems like they're making more steps.
I still have tokens in my house.
That you're never going to use.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can't. They're not worth
the stores
anything
aren't
anymore.
there anymore.
Worthless. It's a circle of metal that's worthless.
Yeah, right.
But if it was a quarter, it wouldn't be here because it would be in your machine.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of video games, you know when I'm going to be playing video games?
What?
Actually, I'm not. But we are going to take a break where I probably won't get to play any video games at all.
Oh, come on.
But I will be playing them weekdays at 12 p.m. Central on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/JustEnoughTrope, where, speaking of Tomb Raider, I've done it. I've opened the drawer of memory. Why is it a drawer? I've opened the sarcophagus tombs of memory, and I am playing the Tomb Raider Reboot Trilogy, a recent trilogy of games that was released, 7-8 years ago, trying to recapture the original spirit of the 90s Tomb Raider games with a new, third-person action sensibility.
Sure.
If you saw that horrible Alicia Vikander, not her fault, movie,
yes.
They are, that was based on this trilogy of games, more or less. And so I've been playing those on Twitch, 12 p.m. Central Time on weekdays. If you want to come hang out and talk with me about video games and other nerdy stuff, you can do that by going to twitch.tv/JustEnoughTrope. I got through it. But I won't be doing that over our break. We're going to be working on some of the projects and some stuff that we're going to announce when we come back. And when we come back will be the first Friday in December on the
first Friday in January.
Oh, so yeah, January. Sorry, the 5th. And so we'll be back with our next episode of Sailor Moon then. But in the meantime, at this point, it's just another hatch on the tree trunk.
Yep.
Another year we made it through.
Yep.
This was a very interesting 2023 for us. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's been very interesting.
Yeah.
And,
a lot of weird stuff. A lot of good stuff. A lot of bad stuff.
Yeah, it was been a mix.
Happy to see it in the rearview mirror.
Yes, me too.
One of these days we'll have a year where we're sad to see it go.
Yes.
Old friend, 2028. Don't leave us.
Don't leave us. You were such a good year.
Or whatever it is.
Yes.
But I hope that you had a good year, and I hope you have a great Christmas and a great New Year. And whatever you celebrate, wherever you celebrate, I hope you enjoy your time with your family and enjoy the holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays, everybody.
And we'll miss you, but we'll be back January 5th, 2024, the future.
Well, that's our show for this week, and the Name of the Moon will be punishing you in a couple of weeks with another episode of Sailor Noob.
And then a spider web goes across the street.